Hey guys, welcome back to Jessen Reads Romance. I'm Jessen, and today we're going to be talking about my favorite Kindle Unlimited authors and books. Before we tackle that list, I wanted to go over exactly what is Kindle Unlimited all about. I get asked the questions all the time. Should I get Kindle Unlimited? Is Kindle Unlimited worth it, the $10 fee? And my answer is yes, if you read as much as me. If you're only reading 2 or 3 books a month, then Kindle Unlimited is not going to be worth your while. You're paying $10 a month to read unlimited books. That's why it's called Kindle Unlimited. For a person who reads upwards of 20 books per month, this is well worth it for me because I'd be spending a lot more money if I'd buy these books. And if I have to wait for them at the library, I love using Overdrive, but there is a wait list for books. I wouldn't be able to read the amount that I do if I only relied on Overdrive or the books that I purchase myself. I will answer some more questions about Kindle Unlimited that I frequently get, but before we do that, I really want to talk about the books that I have discovered through Kindle Unlimited and the amazing authors that I probably wouldn't have found if I didn't use KU. So right at the top of my list, I have to talk about Kennedy Ryan. She is one of the greatest writers out there. I love her books so much. She's written some of my favorite series of all time. I talk about the Grip series all the time in the podcast. We've done dedicated episodes to the books in that series. We've also done an episode on her Reader Award winning novel Longshot, which I absolutely love. Her entire Hoop series, which is the series that Longshot is a part of, is on Kindle Unlimited. The Soul series, which is kind of the not prequel series, but it deals with the heroine in the Grip series brother and his love interest. They're all on KU. I die for the books. Of course, I own them now, but KU, whenever I was just dipping my toes into who Kennedy Ryan was, I mean, I shouldn't have been worried at all. This is the perfect way for me to try her out, and now I just own all of her books. The next author discovery that I've made through KU is actually Britney C Cherry. She is a recent author discovery. I've seen some of her books circulating, especially, I think it's her Element series, but I've recently read Southern Storms and Behind the Bars, which are 2 of the most amazing, beautifully written books I've read. She's amazing. She has so many books on KU that I've yet to read, so I need to get on that. Then we have Karina Hall, or Hall. I still haven't figured out how to say her last name. Her newest release, One Hot Italian Summer. I just can't stop talking enough about that book. It is amazing. It's a great summer read. And I think it's going to be featured on a ton of lists on the podcast. We have a couple mini-sodes coming up, and I have that written down for a couple of the topics. I also really loved The Forbidden Man. It used to be called The Younger Man, then she changed the title to The Forbidden Man, but it is an older heroine and a younger hero. Age gap romance, not really that forbidden. They're both way of age, like they're not even close to being like kind of iffy at all. I really enjoyed it. It made me want to go to Barcelona again. The next author I have on my list is Rachel Van Dyken. I absolutely love her books. I find she can write such different kinds of romance. I first discovered her book Dirty Exes. The title intrigued me. It was very fun. We've covered that book on the podcast, but I think I've read most of her books, if not all. She actually has a paranormal series on KU too. She normally just writes contemporary, which I would say she's more comfortable in, but she does have that paranormal series. I forgot about that before I made this video. One of her more recent releases that I gave 5 stars was Finding Her. It's the second book in a series. It's not a duet. The first book in that series, our hero is impersonating his estranged twin brother, and then the second book in the series, which I absolutely loved, is the twin brother that he impersonated. I don't want to go into too many details. You just really need to read. You probably have to read the first one to get the full effect for the second one. Doesn't matter, both of them are KU. The next author writes some really funny, light and humorous romances. Max Monroe is an author duo, and I really love their style of humor. Like anything in reading, humor is subjective. Some people think that the humor is over the top. I really love Max Monroe. We've covered one of their books on the podcast as well, and one of their more popular series is the Billionaire collection. I think most of their series have some sort of billionaire type of romance or hero, which is interesting because billionaire romances are one of my least favorite tropes, but I like theirs. I probably would have never read the books because they have Billionaire in the title, and I know that that's not my favorite trope, but since it was KU, I decided, why not? I'm already paying for KU, I might as well try out this book. I'm so glad I did. This is why I like KU. It feels risk-free to try tropes that you normally wouldn't read or you think you really don't love, but maybe something about that book intrigues you so you want to try it. I'm more likely to grab a book that I'm kind of on the fence about if it's on KU. If it's full price or I have to wait for it, I'll probably just set it in the TBR pile to go and die because I have hundreds of books on my TBR pile. The next author I have on my list is Karina Hall. She is one of my favorite indie authors. I absolutely love her Ashes and Embers series. It's a rock star romance. It's very light on the music side of things. It more focuses, it almost feels like a small town romance. But my two favorite books by her are Torn and Tied. It's a spin-off series. Torn is a forbidden romance. I absolutely love it. I know some people don't like the trope, don't like the material that it covers. I absolutely love it. 5 stars, nothing bad to say about it. Tied also has a little bit of angst in it, but it's so good. So good. I can't recommend these books enough. Torn and Tied, step on it. The next author I have on my list I discovered after I started getting into romance. I'm not sure if the author Cara Dee only writes romance, but the romances I've read by Cara Dee have all been romances. My favorite one out of those, it's another kind of taboo age gap romance, and it's called The Guy in the Window. I just really enjoyed it. That's one of the more lighter ones. The other ones that I've read were a little bit more angst driven, which is not my favorite. I like reading them, and like I said, if it's on KU, I'll try anything out. But yeah, The Guy in the Window is definitely my favorite that I've read by her on KU. The next author I have, this series has a cult following. Ruby Dixon's Ice Planet Barbarian series. It's addicting. They're all on KU. I think I binged 10, 12 of them in one weekend. I just kept checking them out. I was like, wow, I never thought I would love these sci-fi alien romances, but here I am, obsessed with them. We've covered the first book in this series on the podcast, and there's an entire podcast dedicated solely to the series, Ice Planet Podcast, so go check them out. The next author I have is Tia Louise. She writes mostly standalone romances. I really enjoy them. They're just sweet, pretty low angst, I would say, of the ones that I've read by her. Romances. I enjoyed When We Kiss a lot. I just love this type of enemies to lovers small town romance that is told in When We Kiss, and we also covered that one on the podcast as well. Most of the books I say I really love, we've covered on the podcast, or I plan to cover on the podcast. I just really love sharing all of my favorite reads with Juliet, and that's why the podcast is so fun for me, because we get to fangirl over them together. This next author I was so excited to see on KU. I discovered Karla Sorensen through Smarty Pants Romance when she published Baking Me Crazy. After reading that book, I was like, what else does this author have? I found her on KU. She has a series called Washington Wolves, which actually ties into Baking Me Crazy a little bit. I kind of had a feeling while reading Baking Me Crazy, I was like, this football team, I bet you there's a series about them, right? Yes, there is. My favorite is the last book in that series called The Marriage Effect. The hero of The Marriage Effect has custody of his three or four younger sisters, and the spinoff is about the sisters, the Ward family. Focus is the first one in the spinoff. It is amazing. Now, most people are well aware of this next author, but I just couldn't do a KU list without mentioning her. Mariana Zapata is the queen of slow burn. I absolutely love Kulti, Lingus, which is way underrated, and From Lukov with Love. Lots of people really love The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I do too, but those three are my top favorite of Mariana Zapata, even though I really didn't love her most recent releases, and I didn't read Hands Down. I think that's the newest one. I didn't read that one. I was kind of waiting, because the last two I was like, eh. But her backlist, like, you can't go wrong. Just read them. I mean, if you haven't already. This next series probably seems a little out of character for me, because this is another trope that I really don't love. But when I find a book, or when I find an author that writes a trope that I don't love, then I'm like, oh yeah, definitely going on the list. It's A. Zavarelli's The Boston Underworld series is so good. It is an Irish mafia book, and I really enjoy the characters. The world is very nitty-gritty. It's very dangerous. It felt dangerous. And I think that's why I like it. Sometimes in mafia romances, I don't really believe the world. It all feels too clean-cut or dramatic and mustache twirly, but this one it felt dangerous. Another author I don't really see too much around, but I personally love, is Samantha Christy. She writes a couple of series that I really enjoyed, like the Perfect Game series, which is a baseball series, Stone Brothers, which is a group of brothers, obviously, and Abstract Love, which is a standalone. It will probably make you cry, but it's like the good kind of cry. I really liked it. There is another book that I'm not mentioning by Samantha Christy because I kind of want to go in depth on a video on it. It does have a very interesting storyline, and I've been dying to talk about it. I wanted Juliet to read this, and she kept putting it off, so I'm going to make a video on it. And finally, we have a series by two pretty popular authors, I would say, or at least I've seen a lot of people talk about these authors. Penny Reed and L.H. Cosway teamed up to do a rugby series. The first book in the series is The Hooker and the Hermit. I really enjoyed it, but I think my favorite is the third one. Let me check. Nope, it's the second one, The Player and the Pixie. I gave that one 5 stars. I really loved it. The reason why I love The Player and the Pixie so much is our hero is actually kind of bad in bed. Like, why would you like that, Jessen? Because it's like not the norm. I mean, how many books have you read where the first time that the hero and the heroine get together, the heroine is like, we need to work on this. I loved it, and I think more imperfect sex scenes should be written. So those are my top 15 KU reads / authors. I don't know what to label this because I named more than 15 books, but I think I only named 15 authors. Obviously, there's a lot more authors that I've tried on KU. I read a lot from this subscription. Some really, really good and some not so great, but that's the risk that you take with KU, and I think it's worth it personally. So let's answer a couple of frequently asked questions that I get about KU. The first one is, how many books can I check out? You have a 10-book limit. There's no wait list. Unlike the library, and I love using Overdrive, sometimes there is a wait for a book. And what's really nice is there's absolutely no wait. If you see a book and it's on KU, you can check it out and it'll be in your library immediately. And you could check out up to 10 books at a time, which is awesome. Another question I get is, why are not all authors on KU? Well, if you're on KU, the deal is it's exclusive to Amazon. You cannot sell on any other platform like iBooks or Nook, Barnes & Noble. You can't sell on Kobo. So if an author has a series in KU, then you won't find it on other platforms unless they make a deal with Amazon. Usually bigger names are allowed a little bit of wiggle room so that they can be on KU and other places. Not a lot of people actually do this, which is why some authors have a certain series on KU and a certain series wide, selling on all platforms. Another really interesting question that I get is, I feel really bad when I start reading a book from KU and I don't finish it and I return it. Does the author not get paid? And yes, the author gets paid according to pages read. So they'll get paid for the amount of pages that you read. Even if you didn't read the whole book, they will get a certain portion of it. Of course, they get paid more if you read the whole entire thing. But yeah, you're not just like trying out a book and if you don't finish it, then they just don't get paid. Let me know in the comments if you have a favorite author or series that's in Kindle Unlimited. I get tons of people asking me all the time, what are some other authors to try out on Kindle Unlimited? So share down in the comments who you love to read in KU. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe to my channel. It is absolutely free. And you'll be notified when I come out with another video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, life's better with a little HEA. Bye guys!